Show number 9.
This Otaku's Life.
Years ago, I worked at this place where they liked their meetings. They'd often have a meeting to plan for additional meetings, to get a sense of where they were and where they were going. And meetings always felt very formal to me. The other places I worked at, we didn't do a lot of meeting type stuff. We just worked, did, and achieved. Meetings held for me sort of a formal stigma. And eventually I learned sometimes it's not really the case. Sometimes it's just getting together with others and talking about issues, how to solve problems, getting a sense of a plan, knowing what the milestones are, getting organized. And I remember back in high school and watching these cheesy student films about how to make a budget, how to plan, how to organize, make a checklist. And to me, it felt really weak. But as I entered into the business world, I realized having a plan and being organized, sometimes making checklists, knowing your milestones, are incredibly important. And not just in business, but any project. Getting a sense of where you are and where you want to be, and what your goals are and where you need to be, are incredibly crucial. Having a meeting, being organized, having a plan, doesn't sound so lame anymore. And when we're kids, our goals, our ambitions are to do whatever we want. When we're in high school, we want to maintain some kind of rep. We want to fit in. And certainly we extend that into our own lives. Ultimately, what we want really is to be accepted and feel connected, because we're human and we're social. Having a sense of where you are, where you want to be, and where you need to be, and the milestones, the steps along the way, having a sense of that is very key to establishing and understanding your gauge. With any project, you need to find the measurable points, the things that are tangible. In the case of podcasting, we have downloads. Now, I can't hold those downloads in my hands, but I have numbers that are quantifiable, and that's tangible enough for me. It gives me a sense of the time and effort I put in, and if I should continue to do it. I produce another podcast, and the numbers are much larger than this one. And certainly every week, every day, every month, any time that I might look at this, I get a sense of where we are, and if people are listening. It gives us an idea of what topics were most popular. It gives us a sense of direction. Clearly on that show, we operate as we always do. What we know true in our hearts to be things that are worth talking about. And really, that's our motivation. That's our drive. However, having a sense of our gauge is also really key. It helps justify the investment of time and effort that we put in because of the connection we get back out. And with any project, you have to think about, what are your goals? What are your plans? Are they personal? Are they monetary? What kind of ambitions do you have? And getting a sense of that will help motivate you, will drive you forward. Not everything is tangible. When I think about AMVs, it was something that I felt artistically I wanted to do. I had this idea in my head, and it wasn't going to stop bothering me until I made it happen. I realized it. But what kept motivating me to do it again and again was seeing how people responded. And if they connected with those same moments, they laughed at the same things that I laughed at. And even though I didn't know these individuals, hearing and seeing their responses was my way of connecting. And oftentimes I come back from a convention, and if I experienced that with someone else's video, I felt the same way. I felt motivated. I had to make another project. And it wasn't because I wanted a piece of that idea, that response, that connection for myself. It was because I wanted to give back in my own unique way. And even though a crowd of 1,000 people responding the same way you thought about it when you made the video isn't very tangible, it's still a good way of me judging the gauge, getting a sense of where I am and where I want to be. So think about a project or something that you do. Blogging, emailing, listening to podcasts. The time that you invest in it, are you getting back what you're looking for? Of course, any project needs to be organic. You can't always force it to what you want it to be. You can try to achieve that through skill and experience. But most of the time, projects do best when they are allowed to grow and live on their own. Twitter was something that somebody did because they had this curious idea. And from its growth, it organically grew into something a lot of people cannot live without. So knowing your gauge. Think about what you're doing, what you want from it, what you need from it, and is the effort and energy that you invest, what you're looking to get from it. And that's the first part. The second part is thinking about, how can I measure this in a manner that's tangible, not just to me, but to others. Not a concept, but something that you can specifically see grow and adjust. And once you understand what that is, and you can document it, you can log it, you can get a sense of knowing your gauge and how you're doing. The investment and the time that you put in should have some kind of return for you. For me, this podcast doesn't need to have a point, and doing it is my return. Thank you everyone for joining me this week. Thank you for continuing to download and listen. And as I mentioned before, if you want to participate, we always ask you to do one of a few things. First, you can create a show ID for us. And all we ask you to do is say, "This Otaku's Life," with pauses in between. Because if you notice, at the beginning of every show, we have a mixture of different voices starting us off. We also love to hear your feedback. We love to read your words, but we want to hear your voice. And if you're capable of recording audio, we love to hear your side of a story we've already shared here, or maybe a new concept. We want you to have a voice here as well. Thank you once again, everyone, for listening this week, downloading, and continuing to share. And until next time, have a good one.